Welcome in. I am the Crypto Bull God, and this is all in the charts. If you appreciate the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, drop me a comment, and click the bell icon for all notifications to know when I go live nearly each and every single weekday. Thankfully, this will be one of the last live streams from this location on this laptop. I'll be back to my normal setup very shortly. I'd like to thank everyone who's tuning in. Anyone, I've been asking this all week, if anyone could drop me a quick comment just to let me know the sound is coming through, given this is not my traditional setup. I would appreciate it. It would be very nice. Look, my Wi-Fi name is Protein Shake. Figure. Yes, so just one last time, did want to reiterate that I'll have shared this earlier, but we're gonna let the live stream go as long as the live stream's gonna go. Typically, I like to keep it to around 30 minutes, but given I didn't live stream yesterday, I'm not live streaming Thursday, and I'll be live streaming Friday, and then not Monday. We'll just make today and Friday perhaps a little bit longer. I just want to make sure I'm covering everything that I think would be helpful for you guys and girls to hear. So again, we'll be live streaming today, Friday. Most importantly, the day after Halloween, we'll take a look at the monthly and 2-month close on Bitcoin and the rest of the market where applicable. And then I'll be traveling back to my place on Monday of next week, so I won't be doing a Monday live stream, but I'll be back to my normal schedule on Tuesday. Also live streaming a little earlier today. Typically I don't start until 5:30, but starting things up a little earlier. Sound is good, but Cass is not shaking. Oh, Lord. Did you just make BTC go up by 1,000 by turning the stream on? Did it shoot up by $1,000? Did it really? Well, look at that. Guys, we're gonna get a little update on what's going on. I know I got a few new subscribers to the channel recently. I want to thank you very much. If you're subscribed to the channel, I hope you find value in the content. Feel free to drop a comment if you're new to the channel, or simply if you're a longtime veteran and supporter of the channel. Appreciate that as well. So let's get into some of the charts I routinely cover and kind of update you what's going on, and perhaps we'll look at a few ones that we haven't looked at in a little bit. So this is this 12-hour chart. For everyone who's new to the live stream, why do I look at a 12-hour chart? I've stated this on many iterations, but simplistically stated, Bitcoin has very limited price history. And so, yes, a 12-hour view is a more granular view, more of a low time frame view. But it's a day cut in half, and when you only have roughly, 13 years of price data, it's not a lot of years, right? And so there is a lot of historical context on the 12-hour that I've gone through in a pretty robust fashion in the past. And it's a very important chart to pay attention to. And so right now what we're seeing that we had the golden cross. We've got this rounding parabolic fashion within the chart that seems to be holding up pretty well. Now, would it matter to me if we pull back somewhere into this area and broke? No, it wouldn't matter. Again, the thing you need to keep in mind is, are we creating higher highs and higher lows, guys? This break right here of $70,000 was monumentally important. Why? We took out this swing high right here. This swing high has been taken out. So as we've continued to rise in price here, don't overcomplicate your life. You don't need to look at 10,000 things. On this chart, by simply creating all these higher highs and higher lows, we've begun to invalidate some of the prior swing highs, okay? We just want to continue stair-stepping up. Keep in mind, we essentially double topped here. If we kind of zoom out, if we just go to a 3-day for a second, what have we actually done here? If we consolidate the price action and we look at a 3-day, you can clearly see here we have one. Honestly, we have one big. Look at that. Okay. It doesn't need to fit perfect, but the whole point is, this chart's getting a little messy. The whole point is we topped here, we came down, right? Came in here, and now we've come right back up to the same point, okay? That's all that's happened. I've been saying for a long time now, and it's why you really need to keep your emotions in check. You got to stick to the objective data. Just because, I don't know how many times I have to repeat this, but if we go to a weekly to consolidate the price action further, and we'll get into this chart in a moment, just because this consolidation, this accumulation range, by the way, I've been saying accumulation now for a long time, not distribution. This accumulation phase took longer than I and many were expecting. It doesn't mean that it's bearish, okay? We simply need to remain patient. This market just gets so impatient at times. You guys, it would benefit you to keep your emotions in check, stick objectively to the data, and if something materially changes, well, then that changes your view on the chart. If nothing materially changes, then we're good to go. Same with CASPA, right? This post that I put out on CASPA, the thread, which, at least for what I post, this is a decent amount. It's gotten a decent amount of traction. Again, I just very systematically, unemotionally, objectively lay out my thoughts on the charts. There's no emotion involved, right? And I clearly share an invalidation level where I would be concerned. But as long as we're above that level, I'm not concerned about anything, right? You got to keep your emotions in check if you really want to make money in this market. The other thing I haven't updated you on recently, but we did spend a good deal of time talking about, I think on, what is today? Today is 30th. We talked about it last week, some point last week. And I said, by the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, we should expect to see a golden cross, all things being equal in terms of the price action remaining relatively where it was at. We should experience a golden cross on the daily. Now, I don't know at that point if I can take a quick historical context with you, but we got the golden cross, right? And this is a real golden cross, okay? The difference between a fake out golden cross and a real golden cross, you want to make sure that your 200 is at least flat. It's not trending down. That's the pink line right here. You want to make sure that thing's not going down, and you want to make sure the 50 isn't going down. You can see the 50, it'd be hard for the 50 to be moving down if we're getting a golden cross. The 50 is curling up, and the 200 is not only flat, but it's beginning to curl back up. This is a true golden cross, right? Something like, let me see. Let me show you a fake out. God, this is a messy chart. Yeah, so many scribbles on this chart from prior live streams that I have not cleared up. This is a great example. So this is one where we had you would think this was a golden cross, but look at the 200. It never really started to increase in value. It started slanting down. That was a bit of a fake out, right? Only here, once we got the cross and the 200 was starting to turn up, did we get bullish price action. But if you go back in the chart history and you look at a daily chart and you evaluate the times when you get a true golden cross on price action, it historically has spelled significant upside. I don't need to pull out the calculator and calculate things at the moment. If we were to evaluate price at current price levels, let's just call it 73,000. The all-time high is we're just going to call it 74,000. We're literally like 1 to 2% away from all-time highs, guys. I've been beating the same drum now for a long time, which is we're in disbelief, in my opinion, unless something materially breaks down in the chart. We are in disbelief. People are relentlessly calling for these large pullbacks. Again, I'll pull up the WIF chart. WIF, look, I get good calls and bad calls, right? If you've been here long enough, I own calls that I've gotten wrong and calls that I've gotten right I bring to your attention. Any technical analyst is going to get good calls and bad calls, right? So far, WIF is just doing exactly what I said. We were in this huge downtrend here, which one could argue was actually a bull pennant. As soon as we broke out here, we came down here at this descending area of resistance, and we back tested it as support. I knew at that moment there was a high likelihood, not a certainty, but a high likelihood we would do this relative fashion, higher highs and higher lows, right? So far, we've bottomed right around where I said we would, and we're just waiting to break $3. Once we break $3, it's going to get interesting because there's not a whole lot of resistance up there towards the $5 area. And again, I know some traders out there are calling for lower prices on WIF. They're attempting to short it. I don't really think that's a smart decision, in my opinion. Again, I don't day trade. I honestly don't do a lot of trading per se. More investing. It's the majority of my portfolio I've shared with you guys. But I would not be shorting this chart. That's just my opinion. If we get a little bit, and I'll jump to the comments in a moment. I see quite a few comments flooding in, which I definitely appreciate the engagement. If we flip to the Bitcoin dominance here, the break of this rising wedge, does this lead me to believe that all of a sudden a pattern that has a higher probability of breaking down and spelling alt season is going to do the unlikely and Bitcoin dominance is going to go up? No, we're waiting for this breakdown, right? Every single time. We've looked at this many times. Every time we get a breakdown, there are really two things that I would indicate to you. Anytime that we've seen a massive breakdown in Bitcoin dominance, it doesn't mean that Bitcoin's USD price is going down. No. Bitcoin's USD is generally going up, but the altcoins are far outpacing it. It kind of tells us two things. One, we're entering a true alt season when we get that big drop down that we've all been waiting for. And two, once we bottom out, it typically signals the top in the market. So something to be wary of. But based on how long, I can tell you this much, and it just lends further credence to this run going well into 2025. Based on how long this rising wedge has played out here, I don't see some sort of a sharp drop and the market topping out in early 2025, right? I mean, could the market top out in the first half of 2025? Absolutely. Just more and more, the more these charts are developing, I'm leaning more towards the latter part of 2025 for the market to top. But again, if you're following me on X and Twitter, you know that I put out a video. For the new subscribers, I think actually the most value-added video that I've put out would be this sell strategy that I put together. So again, just to reiterate, I think that it is important to consider a handful of data points in assessing when to sell out. You're going to have things like the Pi cycle indicator that will fail at some point, right? They're not going to signal the top of the market. So if you're only relying on one chart or one indicator, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're setting yourself up for failure at some point. But if you have a handful of objective data points and you have the majority beginning to fire off that we're in some sort of euphoric state, it would benefit you to start to scale out of your investment. And that's what I lay out in that video. I think it's a very sensible approach towards selling out. It's what and by the way, one of the things you'll find on this live stream if you're newer is what I share with you is no different than how I operate. It's no different than what I share with my family. It's no different than what I share with any friends who might be interested in getting into the market. That video is how I intend to sell out. I mean, I'm being as transparent as possible. Let's see who we have in the live stream here. Ricky, welcome in. Love the energy. Good to see you. Well, see you in some senses. You don't see me and I don't see you, but you know what I mean. Buy the rumor. I don't know what the rumor is. What's the rumor, Juan? I don't know what you're talking about. Is there some news event that just occurs? Something came out about Bitcoin that's quote unquote causing the pump, although we allow the charts to speak for themselves. We know on this channel, my opinion is the news is noise. But what is the rumor, my friend? Todd, I gotta tell you, man, as I like your super chat. Super chats, as you know, are never expected but always appreciated. I really do appreciate your support, man. You constantly show up. You're always super chatting. Really appreciate it, man. Really appreciate it, especially when time's tight, trying to get out here and do some of these live streams. It's just nice to know that it's well received. Hit that thumbs up for CBG on the bright side. Still up 3x on my cash bag. Yeah, I will say. Caspa at the moment is not where I envisioned it being, but we still have November and December to go. So we'll have to see how it ends the year. But yeah, based on my average entry, I'm still up. My average entry is around the 3.5 cent mark, so I'm still up good on it. Oh, Milla, we spent so much time talking about Caspa. Go on X and read my thread. Rob, do you see Bitcoin topping Q2 or Q4 2025? Well, you didn't say Q3. What about Q3? Yeah, I've shared my thoughts on this. I don't know. It's anyone's guess, right? I could see Bitcoin topping out in May, and you have all your alts topping out in that June timeframe, or April, May, I should say, and then alts topping out in June. I could see the run going well into the end of 2025. But again, we're not basing our sell strategy on this channel. At least I'm not, on a timing recommendation. I think that's a fool's errand. I think if you're purely basing your sell strategy on from a timing perspective, what you're openly acknowledging, let me make this clear, what you're openly acknowledging is that this right here wasn't possible. Keep in mind, Bitcoin wasn't supposed to make an all-time high before the halving, but we did, right? So why can't we top sooner or later than people are anticipating? You can't base a sell strategy on timing. I think that's foolhardy. I think you need to have some indicators that are telling you that the market is becoming extremely overheated based on historical context. That seems like the most, again, take it from someone, I'm not going to profess to be an expert, take it from someone who's extremely analytically minded. And for someone who's extremely analytically minded, what I would say is it makes a whole hell of a lot more sense to base a sell strategy on indicators telling you the market is overheated versus trying to figure out when the market's going to top. That doesn't really make sense to me, to be honest with you, why some people are choosing to do that. Track, welcome in. Yeah, I know. The whole presidential thing is getting factored into some of this stuff. I know what you mean, Juan. That's what you meant. Okay. All right. So what's going on this weekly chart? Now, the weekly chart, as a refresher, this is something where the candlestick closes out on a Sunday, right? And I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, we're actually apparently changing the clocks this week, so it might be 7 o'clock. We're gaining an hour. Gotta fucking love that. Just found out about that. It made my week. So gaining an hour of sleep on Sunday will be very nice. So technically, if that's true, if that's correct, and we're setting the clocks back, what it means is that the candlestick will close out 7 p.m. But right now, we look uberly bullish. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, I actually don't even want to. Well, we can take a look at the weekly. There is one thing. And I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news here. No pun intended. MACD's looking great, right? Look at the MACD picking up. Got the positive cross. Histogram's turning green. Looks great, right? Look at the stochastic RSI. Dear God, we're above 80. We got, typically the most bullish of moves occur up in this area. Looking great. The RSI is what concerns me on the weekly. So why does the RSI, this is something we've covered in prior live streams, why does the weekly RSI concern me? We've spoken about the historical context of 54. It is good to see us above 54. Ultimately, there are two main things I want everyone here to focus on with the Bitcoin weekly chart in particular. One, when, I don't think it's a question of if, when does the relative strength index break 70? When the relative strength index breaks 70 on the weekly chart, that is typically when we see the most parabolic moves in Bitcoin. We are currently sitting at 62, okay? So I think it's quite possible that we will break 70 in November, latest December, okay? I can see a November, latest December timeframe. But the second thing that I need you to keep in mind is this relative strength index that's all the way up here at 88, that was when Bitcoin was last at $74,000. Now you can see we're practically at $74,000 right now, and the RSI is all the way down here. So what do we technically have right now? We have negative divergence on the RSI. We don't want to see negative divergence on the RSI. It brings back PTSD from 2021 when I was thrown for a loop and did not recognize the irregular expanded flat correction from an Elliott wave perspective when we started to break out towards $69,000. Okay, we don't want to see negative divergence on the RSI. We need this to get cleared out. Now, once Bitcoin starts to create new all-time highs and we're up in that 80,000 range, I fully suspect the RSI is going to be in this region. We're not going to be breaking this area. But what we want to watch for, whether Bitcoin initially tops out at 85 or 92, you know, I kind of have that 85 to 92 zone that I've communicated. Once we're up here, do we stabilize and then eventually break the 88 level, or do we never break that 88 level? We really need to watch for that negative divergence on the RSI and how the relative strength index continues to develop on the weekly. That's something I'm going to be primarily focused on the weekly chart. If we go to the 2-week, pretty sure we have a 2-week candlestick close this Sunday. Okay, now something we've been watching for and we've spoken about. We spent a lot of time talking about false signals on the stochastic RSI. Now, when you're getting a bullish, let me take a step back. I'm stuttering around here. When you study the history of Bitcoin, what you see is sometimes you get a head fake out on the weekly, but you really don't see any head fakes on the 2-weekly. Well, what do I actually mean by that? I mean, when the stochastic RSI breaks below 20 and then triggers back above 20, how many times does it result in monumental upside price action, and how many times is it a head fake out? We don't go anywhere. Well, on the 2-week, we really don't see any fake outs. We went back in time and we only saw this one red occurrence. I think it was 1 out of 9. So the fact that we have this stochastic RSI cross on the 2-week is monumentally bullish based on history. It doesn't mean that price is going to go. It doesn't mean that the Bitcoin price is going to double in the next couple weeks. What it does mean is we can expect sustained price action to the upside. The other thing that will help us is that look at the MACD. I fully suspect that as long as price remains around somewhere around current price levels, you're going to see a cross up on the 2-week MACD. That's only going to lend more credence to the notion that the chart is extremely bullish. Again, one of the things you want to do, okay, I really try to explain things in a not only a sensical way, but a really simplistic way. We don't need to overcomplicate charting. I know there's a lot of smart guys out there. I think when I look around X and I look around YouTube, there's a lot of dumb people, but there are a lot of intelligent people, a lot of smart people. But there's a difference between people who are smart and present things in a way that's easily understood, and then there's a difference between people trying to make themselves sound smarter than what they need to or what they are, right? The best thing you can do for your investment strategy is to simplify things. And one of the things you should do is look for price confluence. When you're able to evaluate a 12-hour chart and you're seeing everything that you want to see to signal bullish trend direction to the upside, you recognize that's going to bleed into a daily. You then recognize it's going to bleed into a weekly, and it's going to bleed into a 2-week. Like, those are some basic things that you should know to look for, right? The 2-week chart, just as a refresher, one of the things I signaled, I came on here on a live stream very recently, and one of the things we looked at was, okay, well, now that we've had a stochastic RSI cross on the 2-week, based on history, when can we expect Bitcoin's price to top out? History tells us it will be right in between this time frame, somewhere in between March and October. Now, keep in mind, that is not, don't take what I'm saying and twist it into something that I'm not saying. I am not telling you that Bitcoin is going to top in this area. The smaller the sample set, the less credibility behind the conclusion that we're reaching. Okay? In this case, again, we have a limited sample set. So you have to take this with a somewhat grain of salt. But we can only use past history. Past history tells us that we will top in this area between March and October of next year. But guess what? History also told us Bitcoin doesn't create new all-time highs before the halving, and it did it. So case in point is there's no reason that Bitcoin couldn't top out in this area. There's no reason that, Bitcoin couldn't top out in 2026. There's no reason those things can't happen. It's just what we're doing is we're coming up with some sort of probabilistic view based on the data. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing as chartists at the end of the day, right? It's just about probabilities and numbers. You're speaking my language. I am a fucking nerd, okay? I may not look like a nerd. I hopefully don't sound like a nerd. Well, actually, I do want to sound like a nerd. I don't mind sounding like a nerd. I don't want to look like a nerd. I don't think I look like a nerd at all. But I certainly am a nerd. I am a big math geek. Big math geek. So this is all about probabilities, guys. All about probabilities. Now, the number one chart that I'm going to be paying particular attention to, well, actually, maybe it could be a toss-up between the 2-month and monthly. But this monthly chart, guys, this is a breakout of a bull pennant. This is what I mean by not overcomplicating your life. This, by the way, is the technical target based on where we just broke out. The technical target is right up towards 140,000. Okay. Now, will we hit 140,000? I don't know. We're going to find out. Will we fall, well short of 140 and top below 100? Will we skyrocket up towards 180? I don't know, but that's why we have our sell indicators set up the way they are. It's not based on a price point, and it's not based on timing. But this chart is looking uberly bullish. The other thing to keep in mind is what's beautiful about this chart and the way it's setting up right now. Look at the RSI. The RSI on the monthly is starting to get really close to getting above 70. You have a lot of these price indicators and a lot of these charts picking up. MACD, stochastic looks great. Looks like we're going to get a cross up on the stochastic RSI as well. As long as price doesn't fall apart tomorrow, we're down 10%. We should be good. If we go to the 2-month, something else we're going to assess on Friday. And again, I think the focus for Friday really is going to be, let's assess that monthly and 2-month chart on Bitcoin and a few other projects. Let's really kind of high time frame understand what's going on and take a step back because we have that data now that October has closed out. So here, boy, oh boy, oh boy. What jumps out to you? Let me ask you actually. Look at the screen here. Is there anything that jumps out to you? Let me do this. Is there anything about, let's say this 2-month candlestick printed today. Is there anything on this chart that jumps out to you? All right, well, let me there's a huge lag with the comments here, so somebody could be commenting and I'm not going to see it. But let me tell you what sticks out like a sore thumb in a good way, okay? We spent time on this channel talking about the gravestone doji. We spent time on this channel talking about the long wick on this candle, and basically, that's why I have the black lines here, basically saying we potentially have our range here. The gravestone doji indicated a trend reversal to the downside. This long wick was seller exhaustion. Maybe that's our range. We'll have to be patient and wait. And lo and behold, it was. But the biggest thing on this chart that everyone here should be paying close attention to is the fact that you have all of these wicks up in this area. We could not... What are price wicks on a candlestick? Again, keeping things stupid simple and not overcomplicating things. Price wicks are simply an expression of volatility. Now, the price wicks help to tell a story on a chart, but in many ways, the most important thing is the candle body open and close. Okay? In this case, we have wicks in this region. We have a wick 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 in this region. For the first motherfucking time, we have the potential to have a candle body close, first off, the highest it's ever been on this chart, and secondly, invalidating most of those wicks. That is monumentally bullish, okay? Monumentally bullish. God, I'll tell you what, guys. If we close tomorrow at or above 72,000, I don't have my money clicker here. I wish I did. I'm telling you what, November is going to be pretty fucking ridiculous. I will tell you, mark my words. You heard it here first. If tomorrow closes at or above $72,000, November is going to be pretty fucking insane. You're going to start to see some pretty wild price action in November. I could totally see a scenario where November and December are super hot. We cool off in January, and then we start to fucking run real hard back into the springtime. Okay? Well, we'll have to be patient and wait to see how things develop. But I'm telling you, I did not anticipate, although I welcome, October to close up in the 72,000 range. I've been telling you guys, hey, let's just get up somewhere around 68,000 right here. Let's just close at 68,000. We're exceeding that at the moment, up at 72. Okay, things are looking very, 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 very healthy. The other thing on the 2-month chart, you can see that the RSI, I clearly have an area indicated here at 70. As you can see on the 2-month chart, there haven't been many occurrences where we've been above 70. You can also see the downward slanting line here. It'll be interesting to see if we top out here or we break through. It'll be very interesting. What else? Juan, you think we break all-time highs tomorrow? I'd be a little surprised by that, but you never know. If that were to happen, November is going to be fucking insane. I will tell you that right now. Not expecting a break of all-time highs tomorrow, but we'll see. Doge is having a little bit of a pullback here, not by much though. This is one we've spoken about. This tends to be a leader and an indicator for the strength in the altcoin market. The nice rounding bottom, we're coming right up against resistance at 18 cents. You know, one other chart for you guys that are here for Caspa. Another chart that I pulled up here, I also made a decision last year. I posted out and I bookmarked it. We're going to see how true it becomes. I swapped out a large portion of my Doge for Caspa because I felt that Caspa was undervalued relative to Doge. Look at this chart right now. Now, you know I posted about the Solana and BTC pairing charts. This area right in here is a huge area that should hold as support. And we're at the bottom of the zone. There's just so much on the Caspa USD and Caspa altcoin pairing charts that suggest to me there's a very, very good likelihood that we've bottomed. And if we haven't bottomed, we're extremely close to bottoming. So keep an eye on the CAS Doge chart. Now, here's a small meme coin that I own. Now, the nice thing when, ticker symbol WEN, I've kind of drawn out my expectations here in relative fashions. Look at the volume picking up here. You love to see that. We've broken out of a falling wedge slash bull pennant. Okay, this is a falling wedge slash bull pennant. And now we're doing nothing but creating these higher lows. And we're starting to run up against resistance here with volume in. This is the volume. Let me make this clear. This right here is the volume profile you want to see as your asset is moving up. Not when it's going down, but when it's going up. If volume is picking up as price is moving up, it's lending itself to the scenario that there's going to be continued strength sooner rather than later, and you could see some sort of a sharp rise in price before getting some decent pullback and then continued movements up. So I would not be surprised in the next handful of weeks to see us all the way up in this area and moving up approximately, maybe as high as 80%, up into this area here. So we will see. What else can I chart for you guys? What else would be good to look at? Anything popping off today? Mask. Do I have a chart on Say? If I have a chart, we'll take a look at it. Anybody here in Say? I do not own any. I'm not familiar with the project. By the way, on this channel, red is for resistance and green is for support. If you're wondering how I do the color coding. When I took TA classes, that's how the guy who did it had it coded, and I adopted it. So the nice thing here is, first off, you can see we clearly held a major area of support at 25 cents, which is great to see. Right now, we're just running into a little bit of resistance right here, right up towards this 55-cent area, which is not surprising. I would put an area, well, now that we've printed all these candlesticks, I would put the area of resistance right about there. Maybe right there. But yeah, we've broken the downward resistance. Once we break 50 cents, our next area of confluence here, major confluence, looks to be at 69 cents. And then, of course, we have all-time highs, but before all-time highs, we have 97 cents. Now, the interesting thing, if you guys are newer to the channel, one of the common concepts that I share with you about technical analysis are things called psychological levels. So the other thing you start to run into when you get up to 97 cents is this psychological barrier, often around $1. Same thing applies at $100, $10, $1,000, $10,000. There will be a psychological level for Bitcoin at 100,000. I will be very curious to see just how close we get to $100,000 before getting some initial rejection. I don't think it's going to be like a hot knife through butter. Any scenario is possible. But anyway, so you have a psychological level up there. This is on a weekly. Yeah, MACD's turning around. RSI's trending up. Stochastic RSI looks fine. Yeah, this thing looks like it's, the other thing, keep in mind, keeping it real simple. You got the higher lows coming in. You got the higher highs coming in, right? Ping pong action. Super Mario. We're Super Marioing up. All right, we're jumping the stairs there. Anybody grow up on 8-bit NES? That's how old I am. I've shared with everyone. You can see my birth. You can see my birth date on Twitter or X, but you can't see the year. But because I'm logged in as myself, you can see. See, I was born in '82, so I grew up with the 8-bit NES. I can still remember the Christmas when my brother and I got the 8-bit NES. Anybody? Drop me a comment real quick. If you grew up playing the original Nintendo, what is your favorite Nintendo game? I will give you my favorite Nintendo game. Hands down, without question, the original Legend of Zelda. Hands down. I'm also a big fan. I know some people weren't a fan, but I'm a huge fan of Link's Awakening, Zelda 2. Big fan. At some point, I fell off. They started making all these other Zelda games that look so cool. But I stopped playing video games right after college. Right after college, I was more interested in going out to bars and meeting women. That's what, honestly. I was never a big drinker in college. But then after I got out of college, not a big drinker, but partook in the drinking a little bit. But never actually a big drinker in college. I was actually a nerd and studied a lot. Pokemon Silver was my first Nintendo game. Interesting. I'm not familiar. My brother was into Pokemon. I never got into Pokemon. Look at Bitcoin 1 hour. I will look at the Bitcoin 1 hour. Typically on this channel, we do not go down to that granular of a level. But because Juan is such an awesome supporter of the channel, we'll take a look. Let me, just for you, let me clean up the chart. Bitcoin low time frame. Let's see. We're going to clean up this chart. So first off, oh, God. Give me 1 second. Bear with me. Juan is here every single fucking live stream. So the least I can do is chart him a 1 hour chart, Now, again, typically we don't take a look at a 1 hour chart. This is not a day trading. By the way, if you're here for day trading, that's not what this channel is designed for. Although I do do TA Q&A on a normal week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And if you want to utilize me for my thoughts on a trade, a short-term day trade or whatever, yeah, sure, I can offer you my thoughts. I don't give financial advice, but I can give you my thoughts. I don't day trade. And any trading I do are typically longer-term swing plays, like my Orca play, which I haven't sold any yet because the thing hasn't even begun to really run yet. All right, let's too many damn lines on this chart. God. All right, let's save that. Okay, so we're going to look at an hour, and Juan is asking the question. Let's see. Earthwalker. Let's fucking go, brother. Let's fucking go. It'll be great to be back on video and my normal microphone setup and office setup next Tuesday. It'll be nice. Look at the Bitcoin 1 hour. Isn't that a clear long signal? Isn't this a clear long signal? Not really sure what you're looking at, my friend. The reality is I'm starting to chart this out. You can chart any time frame and the same rules apply. The only thing you do have to be aware of is you have to be aware that the lower the time frame you go, coupled with the smaller the market cap it is that you're looking at, the higher the volatility and noise you're going to see in the chart. That's why it's so advantageous to just look at a high time frame chart and invest and not get too caught up in all this low time frame trading leverage bullshit. So we do have a bull pennant. We, at the moment, I wouldn't call this a long confirmation one. I would disagree with that statement. What I would say is if you're trading this on a shorter, lower time frame like this, we do have a breakout of a bull pennant. We've come back down here, and commonly if this is bullish, if it's to remain bullish, we're going to bounce right in this relative area. You see how this was resistance, which I think is what perhaps Juan is pointing out. Well, it was resistance, but if this is truly a bullish breakout, we'll come back down here and back test it as support, and then we'll bounce up. Juan, if this area holds, if I was day trading this, this is how I would approach this. I would determine. Well, I've determined my risk. What am I trying to say? My risk to reward ratio, which typically you want around 4-to-1. But I would have entered. Let's have a little fun. I typically don't do this. I would have entered the trade right here. See, we touched this black line, or I would have put my buy limit order slightly above the black line. And then what I would do, just depending on my risk tolerance level, let's see. Yeah, I would set. Okay, so what I would do, that's only 0.8%. So what I would do is I would then put a stop loss right underneath the 50 simple moving average, because it's very what you have to understand is. So that would be right there. This would be my stop loss. So we'll put that as a dotted line. So basically what you're saying is, okay, there's a lot of volatility on the chart. Let's take off the 200 because that's causing the chart to get fucked up. So basically what you're saying is, yeah, there could be volatility. We could wick in here. The 50 should theoretically provide support even if we get that level of volatility. But I'm going to cut my losses if we start to bleed below the moving average because, again, you're accounting for volatility. We could re-enter here. It could turn into a big wick and we close above here. But once you start to have candle body closes that are above a moving average like this and it's trending up, it should act as an area of support. So I would set the stop loss below the 50 simple moving average, and I'd be entering right around this area. I'd set it a little bit above. So it looks like I would have just missed it. Let's see. Looks like 72,196. And I had mine set at like 72,200. So maybe we hit it now. Yeah, well, whatever the case is. But not bullish confirmation for me yet, but I would certainly, if I was having fun trading this, that's how I'd play it. So, and look, see, we're getting the volatility. Now, what's going to be interesting is now that we're re-entering here on this 1 hour, if this bull flag is to play out, the body of this should be above at or above the black line. So we'll have to see how that closes out if you're watching this. But and this would be I'd be in the trade right now, and then my stop loss is right down here towards like 71,630. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Just as a reminder, if you weren't here at the beginning of the live stream, it is important that I share this with you so you're aware. No live stream on Thursday. My week's a little bit different this week. Typically, I do TA Q&A. I will be here on Friday. I will definitively be here on Friday. And we'll spend a lot of time going through some macro views that we have a month and 2 month closeout. Typically, I live stream on Mondays, but I will be traveling back to my residence, so I'll be back on Tuesday. There's a slim possibility I could live stream Sunday, but I highly doubt it. So what I would count on for me is Friday to do a pretty extensive review of the charts since October is closed out. And then I'll be back on Election Day in the U.S. on Tuesday. All right? So thank you so much for everyone new and who's showed support, over the years on the channel. I appreciate it. It's a small channel, but hopefully it's big content, right? All right, guys. Until next time, let's all spread awareness and carry the education forward. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you back here on Friday.